different issues of climate change, biodiversity, sustainable use, the infrastructure needed, the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge that pastoralists have, pastoralist women, pastoralist youth. So these will all be celebrated during the different months. So the IYRP Global Alliance have drawn up a very comprehensive global action plan, and we have 5 strategies that we'd like to achieve during this global action plan. Remember, we are the informal movement. There's also the FAO processes, but this is an informal movement. So we want to see through this global action plan the continued building of the coalition, the knowledge generation. Previous slide, please. The knowledge generation that would like to, next slide, yeah. The knowledge generation that we'd like to continue. We'd like to celebrate the IYRP, further create awareness about the importance of rain-sense and pastoralists. Policy advocacy is quite very important for now and over the next decade and more. And we want to see ethical and sustainable investment in pastoralists. So this is strategies that the Global Action Plan is focusing on. Next slide, please. But advocating for or implementing strategies haven't started in 2026. Since 2016 and before, we've already started to implement some of these strategies, whereby we created awareness in these different multilateral agencies, different fora, different international events, different declarations have been developed, such as the Dana Declaration, for example, the Mira Declaration of Women. We continue to build the knowledge on trying to understand rangelands and pastoralism, and we are hoping to continue that. And policy and investment is rather, a process that is continuing. So through this process, we had the IYRP declared. We had Hindu was talking about the UNCCD decisions that were made. The IYRP played a role in that as well. So, for example, even policy changes are happening at country level. In my country, for example, South Africa, rangelands now have protected statuses, so you can't just convert rangelands anymore. Rangelands are 74.8% of our country. So we're trying to make it more difficult to convert rangelands. And there are some other examples in South Asia or Central Asia that protects rangelands. So what we are advocating for and going forward as we are going to advocate for a decade for rangelands and pastoralism. This is a long process that we undertook, but we understand the process now. So hopefully it will be better. We are fighting for international decade. We want to fight for International Day to be celebrated. We want to institutionalize rangelands and pastoralists in different agencies, whether it's in the FAO, whether it's UNCCD, whether it's UDP, wherever we can institutionalize. Being 54% of the globe, having 2 billion people dependent or benefiting from pastoralists, there's no formal and permanent body that caters for pastoralists and rangelands in the world. There's no global body. So we want to see that happen as well. So the fight continues. So next slide, please. So we gathered here today. Next slide, please. Okay, so there's the next slide. So we are here today celebrating the African Indigenous Pastoralist Gathering, but there are various events happening throughout the year. We already had events happening in Uganda for the pastoralist women. We had the pastoralist women meeting in Central Southeast Asia. We had a gathering in Bolivia last year. But there are different gatherings happening now up to Mongolia, really the road to Mongolia. But before we get to Mongolia, and I would like to take a minute to understand the process going to Mongolia. But the idea is everything in green are regional gatherings. And these declarations, these messages are taken to global gatherings, such as the Global Pastoralist, Women's Pastoralist Gathering happening in Nepal in May. Understand a few African women, pastoralist women have already received sponsorship, but I think the application process opened last week. There's a youth gathering in Spain happening in April. But the big Mongolia gathering is hopefully 300 pastoralists from around the world who gather for 6 days in Mongolia. That is the week before the UNCCD COP. So the idea is all the regionals or all the regions and gatherings before that take their messages, take their declarations, take their concerns to the global gathering to develop a global pastoralist declaration that will be taken to UNCCD COP. And we're working on getting a platform for pastoralists at the COP to have this declaration laid out in plenary. And hopefully will be accepted at the UNCCD, but we also would like all of the concerns, the messages taken to other COPs, to other platforms, so that pastoralists can, or pastoralists can appear on the agendas of many agencies. So this is the road to Mongolia. I understand we're going to spend 4 days with 6 different pastoralist groups around Mongolia, and we'll come together in the capital city to finalize our agenda, finalize the declaration. The government of Mongolia has graciously sponsored quite a large chunk of this gathering, but we're still working on trying to get as many African pastoralists there as well. So this is the road to Mongolia. The road to Mongolia is two-phase, the gathering and then the UNCCD COP. So that is my message to you today. As we celebrate the IYRP, let's make it an impactful year. But I understand that the concerns and the support for pastoralism should continue, or for pastoralism should continue well beyond 2026. Thank you, and let us all celebrate the IYRP. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that lucid presentation. Another round of applause for that amazing presentation. So next in line is, I hope we have Mario Lekonga now with us. Yes, Mario is going to do a presentation of the objectives. So we'll skip that one for now. That's music to the ears of so many people here who want to go for lunch. So we'll go to Hindu. So we have Hindu's presentation ready. Hindu is going to do some tone setting for us, a strategy for IYRP Mongolia and COP17 UNCCD, supporting pastoralist decision making and the Indigenous Peoples Caucus as endorsed at COP16. Karibu sana Hindu. We'll have the presentation there, and I think we can have it here as well. Yes.
Thank you very much. It was about the objective that always that present with the agenda, but we already agree on it. So we move to the presentation. All right. So let us discuss. Go a little bit back, please. Yeah. So let us discuss about the strategy for the International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralists in Mongolia, and at the same time, the COP17 of the UNCCD. So for us, how we can support pastoralist decision-making and the Indigenous Peoples Caucus. This is what I'm going to present to you in a very short time. Thank you. Okay, so next, please. For those who are seeing for the first time the UNCCD, I just wanted to give you a brief information of what is UNCCD. It is one of the sister conventions of the three Rio that is climate change, biodiversity, and desertification. This one especially is focusing on land degradation and drought. And it is adopted 2 years after the Rio Summit. And it entered into force 2 years later. So that means because the countries put more climate and biodiversity, so that's the reason it took like 4 years before it gets adopted. The headquarters is based in Bonn. So when you go to the UNFCCC, you have the 2 taller buildings. So the older taller building is the UNCCD Secretariat. They have 197 countries. And so far, it is the only convention for now that US is still in. I don't know if they forgot about it, or I don't know if they love their land. So the key objective of these conventions is to combat the desertification and land degradation. So how all the drought, all the advancement of the desert can be mitigated. And then how they can promote the sustainable land management with a concrete examples and concrete project like one is called Her Land, Her Life. So then they can promote the women right too. And how that can be a complementary to the 2 other Rio conventions on the livelihood of populations. So the key concept on land, they call it land degradation neutrality. When in the climate change, you have the NDC that can reduce the emission, or in the CBD, you have MDSAP. So this is the equivalent of the two of them. Then they're really working to have a grassroots participation in order to integrate the work that communities are doing on the ground. They are also led by the COP, who is called the Conference of the Parties. They have the same level with the CBD. It's every 2 years that they are holding the COP as one of the supreme decision-making body, not like the climate, who is every single year. So how the implementations of this convention, it is very unique. It is the only conventions that have a one-day setting for non-state actors. And it is also the only convention who is different than the two other Rio conventions, who have a major groups, so they have a panel members. So 2 panel members coming from the 5 regions, not like the other convention, the 9 major groups. So what is most important that I wanted to take you through quickly is last year was the 16th conference of the party happening in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. For the first time in the history, they have the indigenous people's participations, who is officially recognized as a bigger number. We have about 70 indigenous peoples coming from around the world, where we have 1 day dedicated to the indigenous peoples. We have a high-level meeting. We have a declaration of our and it is in the official decisions of the COP that recognize the declaration. And the objective is how really they can strengthen the indigenous people's participation. As you can look at in the photo, this is the high-level meeting we have with the Saudi that come and with many other partners. So in this COP, they adopted one of the most important in pastoralists, number 16. So if you have been, so they have 5 pillars investment and help to mitigate the climate impact, the biodiversity also. And they invite the party to ensure securing the tenure for the rangeland and pastoralists, so how we can have the property on the land. And it's requesting the Secretariat to create a mechanism that can help the project, the programs to be implemented relative to what indigenous and the pastorals and rangeland peoples that need in terms of health, education, etc. And the third one, they requested also the Secretariat to raise the awareness and to have a capacity building, vice versa, to the communities on the ground. And the last one is requesting the Secretariat to develop initiative, so we cannot only talk about the decision at the international level. Inclusions and the participatory approach, as we are discussing here, some of pastoralists are indigenous, some are not indigenous, but this is the middle side who can do the cross-cutting between indigenous peoples and local communities that can work together on implementing